Hi guys, this is Vysh from Vysh IAS. This is the continuation of Spectrum series, and this will be the last video of Spectrum because we had already done the 18 chapters and uploaded, and the students are already giving quite a good feedback on Facebook. So we are expecting to start something new soon, but we need your feedback of how you have been benefited by the Spectrum series, because we have covered almost everything which is important for prelims and mains in all the videos. The 18 chapters had a tremendous coverage of entire syllabus of history. For history optionals, maybe you have to do some extra reading, or we'll upload videos again because we have to cover a lot of other aspects. And this is entirely about modern Indian history. We have ancient, medieval, culture, world history, everything which will be done separately, or through some other sources we'll discuss how to go forward for that. But here we need comments today because it's the last video. And also you can buy all the MCQs of every subject. We have separate PDFs with answer key, and it's all picked up from standard textbooks and the NCERT. So once you complete this, if you need to practice, you can get the MCQs PDF from us. From Facebook already many people are buying it, but YouTube we didn't get much feedback or comments yet. So at the end of this video I'll give you the details of all the PDFs which we have subject wise, and what is the cost and how you can do the payment. In case you need it, you can purchase it. Anyway, daily in Facebook we are posting 4 or 5 questions from different PDFs, so that you get an idea of what is the standard of our questions. But it's better always to have the entire PDF instead of buying a lot of coaching materials or joining courses online with lot of huge payment for test series, which you know, like in YouTube there are a lot of channels nowadays who are launching test series, and everything will cost minimum of 6,000 to 10,000 for just 10 or 12 papers, and so you'll get 1,200 questions. But the same thing we are giving it for cheap rates. You can buy the PDFs and you can practice at home. Of course you will not get a test series kind of environment where you have to answer and then try each one, but here it will be like a self-study and it will be a revision for you, because the portions are anyway completed for modern history. So I would suggest you to buy the modern history MCQs. So let's finish these 2 chapters, which will be a very small session today. After that we'll again discuss about the MCQs. So let's begin. So first is, like I told, chapter 19, which is the emergence of working class in India. So when did it actually start? By the second half of 19th century, like you know, in the 1850s, Dalhousie's ruled. That is the time when the railways were emerging. Also, the American Civil War had got over, and also cotton industries were flourishing. So those kind of industrial development actually speeded up or got boosted in the second half of 19th century. So this is the timeline of it. The most prominent ones, like I told, railways, coals, ancillary, cotton, jute. And the problems, obviously Indians were exploited, so the wages were low, inhuman working condition, long working hours, child labor. To rectify these, actually factory acts had been announced by, or tried to be implemented by some certain governor generals, like the Factory Act 1881, Factory Act 1891. So 2 acts were there, which is not very important for you for the exam purpose, but you should know, like, things were actually attempted to improve the conditions of labor class. 2 major problems, obviously the imperialistic political rule, which suppressed the entire Indians and did not allow them to expand or and enrich their talents or enhance their working capacity. But along with that, they also were involved in the drain, the economic drain, which we learned in chapter 12, Dadabhai Naoroji and all the wealth drain theory. So exploitation of economy and political mishappenings. This is the 2 major problems. So from prelims perspective, there are some names. It's all not very important, but in case UPSC picks some questions for match the following, you have to know some names. 1870, Sasipada Banerjee. Newspaper was Bharat Shramjeevi. So this is all newspaper related to the labor class or the labor movements. 1878, Sarabji Sapurji Bangari tried to get bill passed for better working conditions. So 1878, you see, attempts have been made. That is why the Factory Act will also come up. 1880, Narayan Meghaji Lokhande, newspaper is Deen Bandhu, in which he wrote. First strike by the railways. It happened in 1899, and it was supported by Bal Gangadhar Tilak via his Kesari and Maratha. We have already seen Kesari was a Marathi publication and Maratha was an English publication by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. Other leaders, Bipin Chandra Pal and Subramaniam Iyer, demanded pro-labor reform. Subramaniam Iyer was related with two newspapers. We have covered it multiple times, the Hindu and the other one. Try to answer in comment section because we have done it multiple times. By this time you should have memorized it. Subramania Shiva and Chidambaram Pillai led strikes at Tirunelveli and Tuticorin. So Chidambaram Pillai also we have seen multiple times. Whenever some national movement is happening at the center or North India, at the south in Tamil Nadu, Chidambaram Pillai will be leading the movement. So these are some prelim perspective aspects. Next is the All India Trade Union Congress, which is the most important body with related to labor. So some fodder points for mains, or maybe there are some static info here and there for prelims. That is how we have made this slide. So it was founded on October 31, 1920 by N.M. Joshi, Lala Lajpat Rai and Joseph Baptista. So you should know N.M. Joshi, this name is very popular, also in UPSC questions have asked, so you should know AITUC was founded by him. The first president was Lala Lajpat Rai. Also he was the president of INC. At that time in 1920 the Congress session was happening, a special session was happening, not the actual one which happens in December. Before that there was a special session and Lala Lajpat Rai was the president. So this is also one question, like whether any extremist leader had a chance to become president of INC. We had already done this MCQ long back in one of the video. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal did not have a chance, but Lala Lajpat Rai had become the president of INC in a special session. You should remember this. First Secretary General is D.C. Lal or Diwan Chaman Lal. Imperialism and militarism are twin children of capitalism. It's a good quote you can use in your answers. It was said by Lala Lajpat Rai. Like along with capitalism, imperialism and militarism will follow. C.R. Das presided over AITUC session twice. So this is also a fact which you can remember. Twice he had actually become president. INC welcomed the formation of AITUC in Gaya session 1922. So the Congress session in 1922 actually welcomed this move about formation of a trade union Congress. Other leaders were Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, V.V. Giri, Sarojini Naidu. So if you see, almost all the important leaders were in close contact with AITUC. So they followed the Gandhian philosophy of non-violence and they did not believe in doing any violent or destructive strikes or movements on the ground level. They actually believed in non-violence and tried to maintain that to a great extent. Gandhi helped organize Ahmedabad Textile Labour Association 1918. 1918 was the time again when Gandhi was involved in the Ahmedabad mill strikes also. If you remember Champaran, Ahmedabad and Kheda, we have done in detail when we learnt Gandhi. So he also organized or helped in organizing the Ahmedabad Textile Labour Association in 1918. Trade Union Act was passed in 1926. Recognized, so these are some conditions or the features of it. Recognized trade unions as legal associations, laid down conditions for registration and regulation of trade unions, secured immunity for engaging in legitimate activities but restrictions on political acts. So it's like giving a more freedom or formal recognition to all the trade unions or forming associations, and all the conditions were set. 1928, the year of industrial unrest. So 1926 this act was passed. By 1928 it was a form of unrest because the communist influence was creeping into the Indian minds. So it will be a little bit of revolutionary. The ideology of Lenin, Stalin and all those things of Russian Revolution, everything is entering into Indian minds. It was obviously there from 1917 onwards, but with respect to the labor movement, 1928 this became a little more violent. So revolutionary content came into existence with popular leaders. So this is the evolution of All India Trade Union Congress. Public Safety Bill and Trade Dispute Act 1929. If you remember, these two bills are the bills which were being discussed in the Central Legislative Assembly when Bhagat Singh threw bomb, okay, with Batukesh Radha, Bhagat Singh threw bomb to make the deaf hear. That is what the statement which he told. He wanted to not harm anyone but just make the Britishers listen to them or see to it that grievances are being raised by Indians at one side. So these were the two bills. So what were these bills? Public Safety Bill was to deport non-Indians. That is, there were some foreigners who were helping the Indians actually to fight against the government policies. So that bill is to deport those kind of non-Indians or foreigners. That is Public Safety Bill. Trade Disputes Act, actually we have seen already the Trade Act we saw. Now Trade Disputes Act will be like again how to solve the disputes, because we saw political unrest was going on. Made compulsory to set up courts. In present day India also we have this. Whenever some dispute or some problem happens, we set up tribunals. So same way courts were being set up. Strikes in public utility services like post, railways, water, electricity. That is, if it is beneficial service or like it's consumer services, public services, then if the industries are going on strike, they should give a notice, okay, before 1 month. It's not like all of a sudden just go on a strike and trouble the citizens. So that was another clause. Forbade trade union activity of political nature and sympathetic strikes. So again, politically related strikes or any violent reaction was totally forbidden. Meerut conspiracy case also we have seen, but because it's related to labor movement, again it's given in spectrum here in this particular chapter. 1929, again when a lot of communist leaders and foreigners will be arrested. Government arrested 31 labor leaders, and one important thing you should know is along with Indians, foreigners were also there. These are some names: Muzaffar Ahmad, S.A. Dange, Jogalkar, so see, Philip Spratt is there, so Ben Bradley. So there were foreigners also who were arrested in Meerut conspiracy case. You should know. We have learnt a lot of conspiracy case like Alipur, Nasik, Lahore, Delhi. All these conspiracies have been covered in the previous 18 chapters. This is almost the last one towards 1930s. That is Meerut conspiracy case. Trial got worldwide publicity but weakened the working class movement. So even though reach was there, it actually was weakening the movement. 1931, N.M. Joshi splits away to form All India Trade Union Federation. So from AITUC, he is forming a separate AITUF, okay, federation instead of Congress. So but 1935 again it's reunited. So you have to know like both AITUC and AITUF. N.M. Joshi is the founder of it. 1937 elections happen. You remember provincial elections, and Congress leaders will get into ministries. AITUC supported INC. Congress in turn helped a lot. So they were mutually helping each other. World War II happened 1939, if you remember, and then Congress leaders will resign also. So initially the labor leaders, they stayed away, but again when Russia joined, they supported the allies. So this is their mindset: if communism or Russia is involved, they will support, else they won't support. That was the ideology of AITUC leaders. 1942, Quit India movement happened, but later dissociated from nationalist. 1945 to 47, led strikes and stopped help ships to load troops to Indonesia. So they were actually in picture everywhere. Okay, Quit India movement, initially they were there. World War, later they were there. Then strikes and all those things, when Indian troops were being sent to different places outside India, that time they were against it. So up to 1947, this is the whole story of how the labor leaders mindset or the movements proceeded. So this is all about AITUC and the labor movement. I think chapter 19 was only this much. Yeah, next is chapter 20, which is evolution of nationalist foreign policy. This is also again a very small chapter. We'll see quickly. We'll see in order of timeline, same way how we saw the labor movement, like how it proceeded. So the basic framework of India's foreign policy was structured much before 1947. Already well established diplomatic engagement with outside world. So you know, like the Britishers had a great contact and globally. So the same was retained by the Indian nationalists also. By 1947, India was a member of about 51 international organizations, 600 treaties. So India was actually being ruled by Britishers as a British Indian Empire, and so it was already part of almost all the international organizations, and 600 treaties were signed by British India. India had signed the Versailles Treaty. If you know World War I, when world history you will be studying, you will know Versailles Treaty. And India had supplied a lot of troops because Indians were actually supporting the Britishers that time, because they thought they'll get something in return, which was actually a farce, you can say, which did not happen. Founder member of League of Nations, ILO, International Hotel. So all these international bodies, India is a founder member. Participated in Washington Conference of Naval Armaments. So there was a Washington Conference, and India participated in that too in 1921, so long before independence. There was a Indian High Commissioner. We have already learned this Indian High Commissioner and all those posts which Britishers used to assign. When we saw the different Charter Acts and different Council Act, we have seen which act provided for which officer. So this Indian High Commissioner was present right in London right from 1920s. Largest and most influential non-Western member. So every powerful countries were in the West at that time, not in the East. So India was the only non-Western member in the UN during 1947. So this again timeline we'll see. 1880 to 1914, it was anti-imperialism and pan-Asian feeling. Okay, because it was like against the Britishers and trying to get freedom. That was the timeline, 1880 to 1914. So if you see, India condemned all these kind of annexations which were done by Britishers. Afghan war or the Egypt uprising, Burma, Tibet, we have seen everything in detail in different chapters already. So India actually condemned all these things. Took inspiration from Japan in industrial development. So you know, Japan was a country which was a very small island country, and it became a superpower because of its focus on human resources and industries. So Indians took inspiration from that also. Myth of European superiority was broken because Japan defeated Russia actually. If you remember, I think 1907 or 8 at that time, Japan defeated Russia. So this was also a myth was broken, like they can be defeated, the superpowers can be defeated. 1914 to 1920, you know the World War timing is around this time, 1914 to 1918. Supported British in war, expecting democracy and self-rule in return. So this was the ideology up to 1920s. Participated in peace conference, also objected sending army for immoral wars. So they were beginning to take a stand. It's not like they simply obeyed what Britishers wanted or they just followed the laws. They were resisting and they were raising their voice. 1920 to 1930, identifying with socialist. So again the same time when labor movements all was going on, socialism, communism were creeping into Indian mindset. Jawaharlal Nehru came in contact with European socialists. He also attended Congress of Oppressed Nationalists in Brussels. So some event called Congress of Oppressed Nationalists happened and Nehru participated. He was inspired by Russia and saw Russia as a bulwark against imperialism. So if you know the Indian history, like the post-independence, Jawaharlal Nehru were in close contact with the USSR. Okay, and that is how Indian foreign policy shaped or began to shape up. So Dadabhai Nauroji attended Hague session of International Socialist Congress. So if you see, it's not only Nehru, different leaders are attending different sessions of different socialism and communist events across the world. Lala Lajpat Rai had contacts with American socialists. We have seen this. He had retired from politics and he had gone to America. We had seen this already. Gandhi had close relations with Tolstoy. If you know, he had been in South Africa for almost 22 years. He set up the Tolstoy farm. So he was in relations with these leaders also, Tolstoy, Roland Romain, and also every leader is in some sort of contact with the foreigners. 1930 to 1940, anti-fascism. This is the time of Hitler. So that time fascism was being condemned. Nationalists saw fascism as an organ of capitalism. Lend support to Ethiopia, Spain, China. So whoever were being suppressed or being annexed, India actually lent their support. 1939, the ANC secessionist Tripuri. Who was the president? President was Subhash Chandra Bose. 1938 and 39, both the sessions, he was the president. And it is in between this session that Subhash Chandra Bose will leave Congress and go to set up the forward bloc. And later he will go to the entire story of Subhash Chandra Bose we have already seen in the previous video. So you should know he traveled to Afghanistan, Central Asia, Germany, Russia, and finally reaches Japan. So that entire story we have covered, so you should know. Congress dissociated itself from British policy which supported fascism in Europe. So they were raising their voice. Condemned Japanese attack on China. So there was a Japanese attack on China as well in 1939. And that time if you see, Indians were helping the Chinese. And in present day what is happening? Present day India and China is not in that much good terms. So these are history and that is present. Okay. Palestine issue. So Palestine issue which was again happening at the same time, 1940s, 47 and all. INC supported the Palestinians. So even today this is a big issue. Like you know, Trump has recognized Jerusalem as the capital for Israel, and so entire Muslim community is actually condemning it. So there are issues happening right from 1940s. So the partition of Israel and this thing was opposed. Instead suggested to solve by dealing with Arabs without Western intervention. So they wanted to find a solution themselves. That is what Indians suggested, INC suggested, not like make a clear-cut partition like what happened to India and Pakistan. So this is what INC suggested. Nehru is often called the architect of India's foreign policy. UPSC can just put this statement and tell like comment, discuss, elaborate or whatever. So he realized the importance of the need to have direct contact with other nations, cooperate with other nations for world peace and freedom, maintain identity as a free nation and not be satellite of any other nation. So he wanted to present India as a sovereign nation which had an identity of itself and not follow instructions from any Commonwealth group or any other superpower of that time. They wanted an identity of themselves. That was the vision of Nehru at that time. The art of conducting foreign affairs of a country lies in finding out what is most advantageous to the country. Okay, this is a quote. So when you design a foreign policy, it should benefit the Indians, the particular country. Okay, not like see mutual benefit, or we should obviously see mutual benefit and we should see that peaceful existence is going on, coexistence is going on, but at the final end of the day it should be like our country is being benefited by the foreign policy or foreign affairs. Main challenge was to evolve a policy that could help India compete on the world, because India was totally in ruins at that time, totally exploited. So a good policy had to be framed. World arena with the modern states, and for that he realized a drastic socio-economic and technological transformation was necessary. So science, socio-economic development, technology, everything was being focused. He wanted India to grow without depending completely on any other nation. He decided not to join any front during the Cold War. So Cold War, if you remember, it is a war which is not fought on the battleground. It is a war which is fought based on ideological mindset or technological advancement between USA on one side and Russia on the other side. That is capitalist on one side and communist on the other side. And the other countries were generically termed the rest of the world or the third world countries. And so that is where Jawaharlal Nehru decided not to go in either directions. That is, it's not staying neutral. Staying neutral, we'll actually see neutral means actually when in times of war and all, we'll not go to either side because we don't know what to do. That is staying neutral. But joining another group or forming another group, that is a non-alignment movement, we'll see that instead of joining the US or Soviet Union, made the policy of non-alignment with other leaders of matching ideologies. That is, they are not aligning to both sides, but they have a clear-cut idea or policy for their own country. They know what to do or how to progress, and they know how to maintain foreign relations with both of them. And at that time, it was like more leaning towards Russia, but today, at present 2017, it's like India is trying to be a global partner to everyone. So this was 1947's story of Nehru. Non-alignment movement is what we will discuss. I think this is the last topic of this chapter also. After World War II, the world got divided into two major blocks, USA and USSR. USA demonstrated its new. This was how they were fighting with each other. Both will be engaged in nuclear power or space war and all. Nuclear power in 1945 was demonstrated by USA, and 1949 Soviet Union will do. Same way, who will send the first person to space, who will send the first person to moon, or discover something in space. These kind of technological or space wars were going on, and these are all components of the Cold War. They did not fight with each other, and also they were focusing on their own development. One reason why USA is far ahead than Russia in terms of economy is because USA also focused on soft power. Because USA, if you know, right from 1776 it is independent, but Russia has become only by 1991. I mean the liberation part. So USA was focusing on the soft power where they'll go and engage in contracts with other countries, and they were focusing on their internal things like their Hollywood or whatever. They were doing a lot of soft power skills, because of which people were attracted more towards USA, because they were more of a profit motive or capitalist based economy. So that is how USA developed this much, but Russia is still not there in the top 3 economies of today's world. Okay, if you see, India can enter the top 3, but Russia is still not there. So this is one difference, how USA approached the Cold War and how Soviet Union approached the Cold War. So the same thing, USA had the economy to influence third world countries to join them. China was aligned to Russia. So in that Cold War, China was aligned to Russia. So the next big country will be India, obviously, in terms of size or population or old economical value. India was the next big country. So India did not join both of them. India could have joined anyone, but they thought of forming a new alignment, and that is the non-alignment movement. And this is the time when almost every country were getting independence. India chose not to be fully capitalist or communist. India's foreign policy maintained own sovereignty, non-interference in the domestic affairs of other countries. This is the Indian policy or Nehru's policy at that time. So that's how non-alignment movement. So the picture you see 5 leaders, we'll see the names of them. You don't need to remember the names, but you should know the countries. Yugoslavia, Egypt, India are the most important ones, and then 2 more are there, Indonesia and Ghana. So these 5 are the countries who you can call the NAM leaders of that time. Okay, Yugoslavia, Egypt, India, Indonesia and Ghana. The name of persons are not important. This is the thing which I told already, NAM versus neutrality. Neutrality means passivity or no action or no opinion. That is, there is no positive opinion, there is no negative opinion. You are just staying neutral in terms of war and all. Okay, but NAM means to have positive and constructive opinion on international issues. Neutrality most in times of war, NAM relevant in times of war and peace. This is the difference between NAM versus neutrality. So you should never mention in your answers like India decided to stay neutral. It's not neutral. India decided to form a new non-alignment movement with a specific ideology for their own development. We'll see some timeline like how it actually formed the NAM. 1953, the term was actually coined. Okay, 1953. Later in 1961 only it will have its first session, I think, but 53 itself the term was coined. Nehru announced Panchsheel. We'll see Panchsheel actually, that is, I think, I'll do it in next slide. Panchsheel is a agreement between India and China, and it's called Indo-Sino. Never mention Indo-China when you mention the actual country China. Okay, Indo-China actually refers to the eastern part, that is the Myanmar, Thailand, and the Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia. That area, when there is a relation with India, that is called Indo-China in international relations. Okay, and India and the actual Chinese country, it is called Indo-Sino relations. So these are certain things which can be mentioned incorrectly by you in your answers. So try to use it correctly. Indo-Sino and Indo-China, two different things. 1955, London Conference, host Indonesia. Indonesia hosted the conference in 1955. So this is actually the flow of how things happened. And 56, a declaration was signed between Yugoslavia, Egypt, and India. Then only the other two will join, Indonesia and Ghana. 1961, the first conference will happen at Belgrade, and it has been happening ever since then. And the latest one in 2016 it happened. So you have to tell me in comment section where it happened. It was there in news for a lot of reasons. Last year also questions were expected, and I think one or two questions came. So NAM, usually the top leader, the Prime Minister, attends it, but last one was attended by Vice President, and that shows like India is no longer interested in non-alignment movement. It is actually trying to become a global partner to everyone. So that is the significance, and that is why it was there in news. So you have to tell me which place did the leader attend in 2016. It was there in news. It can be asked in prelims. So try to answer it. Have India hosted NAM summit ever? This is also one question I wanted to ask you. Whether you have to just go to the Wikipedia of NAM and you will see the places where summits had happened. So you have to tell me 2016 where it happened, and whether India hosted the NAM ever. Like you saw, Indonesia hosted the first time. So you have to tell me where. Panchsheel, last topic, idea taken from teachings of Buddhism and Taoism. This is actually just 5 pointers you have to remember, 5 principles of how India-China relations will be there. It's actually not good even now, but that time, these 5, if you see the picture on the rock, this is the 5 things. Again, I'll mention mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference in domestic affairs, equity and mutual benefit, peaceful coexistence, and mutual respect for each other, territorial integrity and sovereignty. So 5 points as a whole story, if you see, it means the same thing. Like we won't interfere unwantedly into your region. That is the crux of it. But for answer writing sake, you have to know these 5 points. Non-aggression, non-interference, equality and mutual benefit, peaceful coexistence, and the territorial integrity and sovereignty will be respected. So how I remember is NNEPT, NEPT or something like that. You have to make some keyword or some jugaad for this, and you have to remember this, because Panchsheel can be a part of a question. It's not like it will be asked for a 12 marker or 15 marker, but along with some question, a sub question can be about Panchsheel. Okay, because it was in news also recently when India-China standoff, Doklam issue was going on. So try to make some jugaad and try to remember this. And another thing is about the criteria of non-alignment. That is, like every country cannot go and join non-alignment. There should be some basic criteria. So at that time, the leaders decided on few points, which is you can remember easily. It should have consistently supported freedom movements in other countries. Like India were condemning the Asian annexations. Like that, all those countries should have been against the imperialism. So that countries can be part of it. If it is a member of bilateral treaties or defense arrangement, this should not be in context of superpower conflict. That is, you should not be forced upon on treaties, or you should not be a country which is engaging in these kind of defense arrangements with other superpowers, the Russia or USSA. It should not be a member of multilateral military alliance. Again, the same thing, military, specifically about military alliances. So being in a NAM, you should be non-aligned to both of them. You should not go and engage in any other agreements. Like you know, India is now in terms with USA for a lot of defense agreements. So now India is not a actual partner of or actual member of NAM. It should not have considered military bases in context of superpower conflict. Again, military bases should not have been given to them. Now China, you know, like it's going and setting up military bases here and there everywhere. So to come into NAM, this was one condition: military bases should not be given to a country, a superpower country. Follow independent policy based on peaceful coexistence and non-alignment. So again, same thing. It's kind of the Panchsheel which is framed later by Nehru. So these were the things covered in chapter 19 and 20. Like I said, there is no much things which have been repeatedly asked or anything, but UPSC, because this is there in the syllabus, they can frame a question anytime. That's why we had to complete the textbook and complete the syllabus. So we are done with chapter 19 and 20. We'll see some MCQs also, which are actually not from this chapter but the overall 20 chapters we have done. We'll see 3 MCQs I think today. So these are again match the following questions, a typical UPSC question asked every year, certain movements and leaders related to which you have to tell whether all 3 are matched correctly or if anything is false. Satyashodak Samaj, Jyotiba Rao Phule, Servant India Society, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Indian Association, Surendranath Banerjee. So you have to tell me in comment section which is the answer. And this is a very interesting question. Who replaced the position of Subhash Chandra Bose when he resigned INC in 1939? So I told you this is the time when he resigned and went to form the forward bloc. So obviously it will be like mid of session. So who should be continuing the position? The answer to this I'll tell you. Actually this is Rajendra Prasad, and most people will be thinking Pattabi Sitaramaiah because he is also part of this story. Because when the presidentship nominees were going on, Mahatma Gandhi had put forward the candidate name as Pattabi Sitaramaiah. But when they had the internal elections to be president, Subhash Chandra Bose won the elections. So that is how he is involved in the story. So don't confuse both the questions. One is who, like Subhash Chandra Bose defeated whom, that was Pattabi Sitaramaiah, and after Subhash Chandra Bose, who took up it, it was Rajendra Prasad. From 1940 onwards, the session you should remember it is Abdul Kalam Azad. 1940 to 46, I think it was like vague sessions. They did not have much proper sessions, and it was all I think 40 to 46 Abdul Kalam Azad. You can see the same again in Wikipedia. They have given a proper tabular list of all the INC presidents right from 1885 to 1947. Last question for today. A.O. Hume never served as president of Indian National Congress. Annie Besant was the last foreigner to be president of INC before 1947. So these kind of things are tricky questions which UPSC makes. You know, A.O. Hume was involved in the formation of INC, okay, and W.C. Banerjee was the first president, and Lord Dufferin was the viceroy at that time. So these things we know, but did he actually, A.O. Hume, did he actually serve as the president at any particular session, whether it be special session or whether it be the actual session? Did he serve? So this is one tricky question. Next statement is Annie Besant. Annie Besant, we know she became the president after she was released from jail in 1917, and before her lot of other male foreigners were there who became INC president also, but was she the last foreigner? That is the question. So again, if you see the Wikipedia tabular column, you can easily get the answer. So I think after her there was no foreigner, she was the last one. That's what I believe. There were obviously female Indians, but last female foreigner, or the last foreigner itself, I think it was Annie Besant. So just check it once again. This is the type of questions UPSC will form just to trick you even after you preparing this much. So try to answer these kind of questions, and this is actually picked up from our PDFs. Okay, that is why I'm telling you purchase the PDF. I'll give you the details of the PDF, and obviously payment is online. You can do it Paytm or Ola Money or whatever you have. I'll give you the number and you can just Paytm it and give your email ID. You will instantly get all the PDFs with the answer keys in your email. So many students have already purchased history, art and culture, polity, and all those subjects are the ones which are strongly preferred by the candidates. Also environment is something which most of the students buy, because environment is one topic where you study a lot of things, but questions can be tricky because there are a lot of national parks, sanctuaries, and all those things which you have to remember. So I'll give you the details. Modern history, we have 320 MCQs, which is the entire spectrum and NCERT, and lot of extra things which I tell you in these videos. So it will be a good coverage for your revision. It will be very helpful. So that's why I'm putting that on top. Modern history, 320 MCQs, price is there along with it. Ancient and medieval, 225 MCQs combined, I'm telling. I think one had 120 and one had 125. So I think maybe I think it will be 245 MCQs actually, because the PDF separately, I don't remember the exact count. It will be 230 to 245 questions anyway. That's at 149 rupees. Current affairs, 400 MCQs, and daily we are updating it. So new PDFs will come. Maybe after 1 week when I put the video, it will be like 500 MCQs. So we are updating current affairs on daily basis, and all the questions are, it's all based on UPSC standards, how UPSC forms 10 sentences, how UPSC frames the questions. Everything is kept in mind, and that is how current affairs MCQs are being framed. Environment and government schemes, these are again a very big portion of our prelims. At least 30 to 35 questions surely comes every year from these two topics. So both have 200 MCQs each, 400 MCQs. For one subject it will be 149 rupees. And these are again other topics which are always there in prelims, and for this we have one PDF ready. We are actually updating, so every PDF will be again like after 1 week maybe we will have 2 PDFs, but as of now completed ones which are up to date are art and culture, geography, science and tech, which has the defense, military exercises, space missions. All those things are there in science and tech. Also, it has the entire thing from NCERTs of biology, physics, chemistry. So I know many of you don't like reading the science NCERTs because it's not of like a cost and a cost benefit analysis. If you see, it is very less. So that is why it's better to do MCQs. So science and tech is a very good buy for you if you want to buy. So all these things, economics also we have 2-3 PDFs actually. 100 questions are for actual theory from the Ramesh Singh and the NCERTs. But we have also economic survey related one, which actually in February we'll again update when the new survey comes. India yearbook also, we have the details of India yearbook last year 2017, which will be again updated when 2018 Indian yearbook will come. But Indian yearbook is like most of static information, so much in update won't come. So you can buy this one also because it has a huge coverage of all the constitution related, Indian flag related, Indian emblem, Indian tourism, all those things. Lot of questions are there, very value added additional questions are there. Polity covered from Lakshmikant and NCERTs. It's also a very good purchase, which most students are preferring, and they have given good feedback. So these are the price details. You can Paytm us at this number and give your email ID immediately. Facebook page anyway you can see more details, but I'm just because it's the end of the Spectrum series, I wanted to give these details to you. So think how you want to revise, which one you want to buy, because the same things in test series you will get for about 5,000-6,000 rupees. You will buy all, or you will attend the exams where not proper feedback is given or not proper guidance is given. So better than that, you can buy these PDFs and practice yourself. Entire queries can be answered in Facebook or Facebook page. 24/7 we are available. So try to finish this Spectrum series pretty well from this video, as well as reading from other sources, and practice well. We'll come up soon with the next video or next series based on your feedback. So give your feedback also. So we'll end this session right here. For any queries, contact Facebook page. Till then, till we come back, enjoy your learning. Thank you and have a nice